Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.
What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Get out there, play hard, enjoy those games.
Welcome in, everybody. I am not sure if it is the middle of the morning, middle of the afternoon, or the evening. This is Go Big or Go Home. I'm Old Man Troy, joined by the studious youngster Kevin Cunningham, a.k.a. Kid Cunny on Twitter. Youngster, I have no idea. As many shows that we've done in 2 days, I have no idea what time of the day it is. I really don't.
You don't even know what day it is, Troy. You thought today was Wednesday? Tuesday?
Well, we do a lot of shows.
This is our third show today that we're recording.
Yeah.
Just to give some fans perspective here.
And the fourth show in 2 days. We normally do not even 4 shows in a week. Like we actually air more than 4 episodes on different stations, but we only usually record 2 shows, sometimes 3. We have now done 4 shows in 2 days. We've done it at 5 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, now 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I am all discombobulated. I really am. But you know what'll take care of that? A little bit of Inner Peak Coffee, because they are sponsor on the Inner Peak Studio. Go check them out. InnerPeakCoffee.com. Free shipping to your door. It's gotten me through the last 2 mornings. Don't have any right now. It's now Rockstar. But holy cow, youngster, we are actually like recording machines this week.
Yeah.
So how are you doing for the 3rd time today?
I'm good. I don't remember the last time we did 3 shows in a day. The last time I'm sure that we did would have to be, it wasn't last year. The only time this happened.
We've never done 3 in a day. I'll guarantee. I will bet all my DraftKings money that we've never done 3 shows in a day.
We've definitely done 2 for sure. We also had, Troy, that XFL podcast, which lasted like 15 minutes each episode. But I don't think we recorded 3. 2. Maybe not.
We may have when we recorded on Red Light Sports Network. When we did, we would do the fantasy show.
Right.
But I don't think, not together. Not together. We had the fantasy show, we had the soccer show, but you and I didn't do it. Maybe if you were a guest on a show, but I don't remember doing 3 shows in one day ever.
The only way it's possible would be for March Madness. And if we're cranking out shows, 1 show per region like we're doing this week. But again, typically we're able to do it once a day, but because of timing things, we're doing 2 regions today. On Tuesday the 16th, we are getting these 4 regions out to you before the tournament starts on Friday. That's our goal. We are certainly going to hit that goal. It's just a matter of shows being uploaded.
Boy, you're probably pretty happy because you don't have to get up at the brink of dawn like I do.
Yeah, this show means a lot to me because I don't have to get up at 3-4 in the morning tomorrow, so that's a good thing.
No, but I do.
Getting up at 6 my time, whatever. But
youngster, do you know what I would do to be able to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning? Do you know what I would give for that? I would give greenbacks. I would probably give a lot of stuff to be able to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
I'm sure you would. But here we
All
are.
right. We got a good show. So just so the listeners know, we are recording on the Inner Peak Coffee virtual studio line. So, again, check them out, InnerPeakCoffee.com. A lot of great coffee, more than coffee. They got mugs, they got apparel, and the best thing is free shipping to your house. And then the second thing is, youngster, we need our followers to go to @YoungsterOldMan, @KidCunny, and enter our tournament bracket challenge. That will all be with my early day from work today, and there's a reason why we're recording 3 in one day. I will be able to spend a lot of time on Twitter tonight, Facebook, LinkedIn, sending the link to our challenge out. So go follow us on @YoungsterOldMan. and get in the bracket challenge. You've probably already filled out one. All you got to do, click on the link, import your bracket, bam, you're in Youngster Old Man bracket challenge. But let's go, youngster. South Indiana region. It is the South region played in Indiana, so let's go. Let's get at it.
Yeah. So, again, we've already recorded the West and East regions. The West region, only Iowa was in there. And then in the East, earlier this morning, we recorded talking about Michigan, Maryland, and Michigan State in that region. So we've gone through 4 of the 9 Big Ten teams on this show.
Do you want to recap our 2 Final Four picks so far?
So we both have come to the conclusion that Gonzaga is going to beat Iowa in the Elite Eight in the West. And then in the East, I have Texas beating Florida State. And you, Troy, do you have Florida State as well? Do you have LSU? I know you have Alabama moving on.
I have Florida State. So we agree on Florida State getting to the Elite Eight, but I have Alabama beating Texas in the Sweet 16.
Right. So there you go. I actually have my.
Well, we both agree, and we don't want to let the cat out of the bag because we want all of our listeners to go back and listen to the other show. But we agree that the winner of that Texas-Alabama game is probably getting to the Final Four.
Yeah. I wish Isaiah Livers was healthy. I'll say that much. By the way, I already have my left side of my bracket is now complete entirely, including the Final Four. And even my national championship game is completely set.
Mine's not.
Yeah. But
you have to listen to the other show, folks, to see where I'm hung up. Because youngster, I couldn't be at work today. I'm sorry, I'm driving now, and I had to deal with morons. So now I'm on the wrong highway to go home because of morons. Sorry for all you moron drivers out there. I can say that on the podcast.
Yeah.
This really pisses me off.
Whenever you want.
Yeah, because I'm like 10 minutes now to get to the next exit and get off. Oh, my God. Now I'm already – you got me worked up on the radio show. I went shopping for my wife because she gave me the errand list, which being the good husband I am, like, sure, I can stop at the grocery store and do that. Then I'm like, I'm going to record my show. And now I got to deal with morons that put me 10 minutes out of my way. All right. Let's see if you get me worked up on this show. Let's go. It's the bracket show. Take it from the top. Now I'm really PO'd.
We are going to talk about Wisconsin, so you're most likely going to get pissed. But with that being said, the South region, we have 3 Big Ten teams to talk about. Wisconsin is one of them as the 9 seed. We'll save that beautiful team for last. We'll go top to bottom in terms of, seeds. Ohio State's the 2 in this region. They got paired up with Baylor as the 1. And then for the Big Ten, Purdue is the 4 seed. So, yeah, Baylor is the 1 seed in here in the South. Ohio State's the 2. The 3 is Arkansas. Yes. And then the 4 is Purdue. And then for Big Ten purposes, Wisconsin is the 9. To start with Ohio State, to go best to worst, quote unquote, Ohio State as the 2 seed, they get a 15 seed in the first round. They get Oral Roberts. I talked about, was it Michigan? Yeah, it was Michigan. And talked about even without Isaiah Livers, I didn't even look at Norfolk State and Appalachian State and what there's wrong teams. Mount St. Mary's and Mount St. Mary and Texas Southern are the 2 teams playing for the right to play Michigan. I didn't even look at those 2 teams. I just clicked Michigan, and that was that. For every other matchup, basically, I at least look and see what these teams are like. For Ohio State, I did look and see what Oral Roberts was like, and Oral Roberts is actually interesting. I really wish they were playing a team like West Virginia. I love picking against West Virginia in the first round. I did it a few years ago, and it's what I hang my hat on because I did my due diligence there, and I picked a 14 to beat West Virginia one year, and it actually happened. in the first round, 14 beating a 3. I wrote a whole frickin' article about it, why this 14 seed was going to beat this 3 seed, and it happened.
Well, that'll be interesting because isn't West Virginia a 3 again this year?
Yes, they are. They are a 3 in the Midwest region, which we have not gotten to, so I've not done my homework on the 14 seed they're playing, which is Morehead State, but I really, really, really hope Morehead State is an interesting team, like Oral Roberts is, because I would pick them. Oral Roberts, to get to them, they have Max Abmas. Max Abmas scores over 24 points per game. He's the number 1 scorer in college basketball. It's not just him, though. As a team, they shoot 39% from 3, which ranks 8th in the country. So what that means is that they're Oral Roberts. They're small, but that being said, Ohio State's small. Ohio State's very small. E.J. Liddell is their best big, and he's, 6'7", 6'8". So Oral Roberts should not get slammed on the interior, because Ohio State doesn't slam anybody on the interior because they don't have that kind of player necessarily. So Oral Roberts has that going for them. Obviously, this is a matchup between 2 smaller teams. But again, Oral Roberts has a guy who commonly scores 24 points a game. He's scored 40 points in 2 different games this year. He's scored 30 a number of times, obviously. And again, as a team, they shoot close to 40% from 3. That's the perfect recipe for an upset. I know they're a 15 seed, but this is a 15 seed, again, that's undersized like most 15 seeds are. But again, they're playing a team that won't be able to crush them on the glass, crush them on the interior, just feed the post and go to town. That's not the case. So this is, if this upset happened, it would not shock me. For most of the country, it would shock them because it's a 15-2. But looking at these teams, it really wouldn't shock me at all. I know Ohio State's the better team. I know Ohio State has more talent.
You taking Oral Roberts, youngster?
No.
Are you pulling it off? Are you pulling it off?
I am not.
Chicken.
Yes, I am a chicken.
Chicken.
I have picked, in the first round, I have picked the Big Ten team to win, I think, every single matchup in this tournament. There is one exception, though, and we'll get to that team in just a bit here. Ohio State, again, overall as a team, they're more talented than Oral Roberts. They should win the game. They're favored by double digits, I'm sure, as they should be. But I'm just saying there is a way in which Oral Roberts wins this game, and it's not as though, well, any team can beat anybody on any given night. It's more likely than that because of what Oral Roberts can do. It's these kinds of teams that pull off these upsets, and Oral Roberts exactly fits that mold. So
I'm going to crush your theory about this, though, youngster.
Okay, go ahead.
Look, well, because Ohio State, I mean, did you have Michigan in the Big Ten final? I believe.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I had Ohio State making that run, correct, to play Iowa?
Yeah, you did.
So I had that right, that Ohio State
Correct.
would get there. Ohio State was the 5 seed in the Big Ten. 5 seed.
Right.
They're the 5th best team in the Big Ten. I'm not saying they're a 1 or a 2 seed. This Ohio State team, you're talking about shooting percentages, blah, blah, blah. This Ohio State team, nobody's talked about them all year because you got Michigan, you got Illinois, you got Iowa. Somehow Purdue bumped up ahead of Ohio State. I had them in the final against Iowa. They got to the final. Iowa let me down. But I had Ohio State making that run.
You just need to pick Illinois and just never think about it. That's all you have to do, and you'll be right.
Okay, well, I thought Iowa was good, and they are good.
They're good.
I mean, we already talked about it. But my point is, I took the 5 seed in the Big Ten tournament to the conference final. Ohio State doesn't get to the conference final in the Big Ten by choking against Oral Roberts. I'm not saying they're going to dismantle them by 30, and you're making a good point that they'll shoot and they'll play. But Ohio State is good enough to get by Oral Roberts and probably make a little bit of a run possibly in this region. We'll talk about it. I am dead set Ohio State, boom, cruising through.
Fair enough. All right. By the way, I think this region's pretty wide open as well. And looking at Baylor and what they do on paper really well, and how their roster is constructed, this is my kind of team in terms of how they're built. But from a pure watching standpoint, it's very close to what I really love to watch in basketball, which is just completely getting up and down the court as fast as possible and shooting a bunch and creating havoc and turnovers and steals and pressing. And Baylor doesn't necessarily do that defensively, but they are very guard heavy. They shoot a bunch of threes. They're the number one 3-point shooting team in the country. But with that being said, I think they are vulnerable on the inside, and we'll get to a matchup they can play right away where they could be in serious danger. So I think Baylor is vulnerable in this region. I think Ohio State is very good. They're very solid. Ohio State could make the Final Four, no problem. And again, Baylor's smaller. Ohio State's smaller, so it plays to Ohio State's strength in that standpoint. There's no big from Baylor they're going to have to be, terrified of. So Ohio State, even if they play Baylor, which they might not, if they get there, in my opinion, to me, it's Ohio State. They can take this region. So can Arkansas.
The youngster, you're not letting the cat out of the bag early, are you? You're waiting for the games.
I'll get to it.
You're not going chalk. You're not picking all. Well, you didn't pick all number ones because you took Texas. So you got a 4 seed in there. You got a 1 seed. You're not going chalk in this region.
Texas the 3. No, I'm not. This is the region where I have something interesting happen. But regardless, Ohio State to keep it on them here. So anyway, if they get past Oral Roberts in the first round, again, just saying the possibility is there. If they win, they get the winner of Florida, Virginia Tech, the 7-10 matchup. A lot of people like Virginia Tech. A lot of people don't think Florida's as good as a 7 seed. A lot of people think Virginia Tech is better than a 10 seed. Why? Virginia Tech, they finished third in the ACC this year. They had a number of opt-out players. They had a number of injuries they had to deal with. They had a 3-week layoff because of COVID at one point. They've just had to deal with a lot of different adversity. And so Virginia Tech, now that they're healthy and playing and they're together, they're actually a pretty good team. So the consensus is it's most likely that Ohio State would play Virginia Tech in the second round. One thing I'll say about Virginia Tech.
Youngster, you're on the ACC, and I'm with you. I picked this 7-10. I picked Virginia Tech. A lot of times 7-10 is a coin flip.
Yeah.
Do you think Virginia Tech has been, I guess, not respected because Duke and North Carolina, I know North Carolina's in a tournament, they're playing my home team Badgers. But because of Duke and North Carolina not having dominant years in the ACC, do you think Virginia Tech has been a little bit disrespected this year? I do.
Yeah, absolutely. And even Virginia, this is not a 1-seeded Virginia team either. So yeah, there's no powerhouse in the ACC. Florida State's really interesting because they're athletic and they have an NBA guard who's very good. But there's no fantastic team in the ACC this year, and that's why their highest seed is a 4 seed. So yeah, Virginia Tech, they didn't have a bunch of phenomenal wins to get because there were none to be had. All you could do was beat a 4 seed in Florida State or a 4 seed in Virginia. Otherwise, you're looking at some teams. So, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think they've been disrespected.
No, but I have Virginia Tech, youngster. I got Virginia Tech, Ohio State, 2-10 in the bottom of that bracket.
With Virginia Tech, just so people know, they're also a smaller team. So Ohio State, again, it plays to their favor, in my opinion. So Ohio State, if they play Florida, I'm definitely going Ohio State. If they play Virginia Tech, yeah, it'll be harder, I suppose, but Ohio State's just the better team. So they shouldn't have an issue there. The next round is where it gets more interesting. They probably play the winner. Well, they probably play either number 3 Arkansas or number 6 Texas Tech. If they don't, then they're playing an 11 seed or a 14 seed. Both those teams are capable, Utah State and Colgate. It's just, most likely you're playing a 3 or 6 as opposed to an 11 or 14 in the Sweet 16. There's always a double-digit seed that makes the Sweet 16. I have one in my bracket making it. It's just a matter of picking the right one. But regardless, again, most likely you're playing Arkansas or Texas Tech. Texas Tech is known for their defense. That's just something they do. They slow it down. They defend the hell out of you. But again, Texas Tech is a smaller team. Ohio State, talent-wise, they're better than Texas Tech. I would have no issue with Ohio State. Obviously, Texas Tech's defense, could Ohio State shoot 35% from the floor and 20% from 3 and lose? Yeah, they could. But Ohio State's more talented. The problem to me would be potentially playing Arkansas, who, again, is another smaller team. This road to the Elite Eight for Ohio State, and again, if they play Baylor, that's another smaller team. This road plays out pretty nicely for Ohio State, I must say. But with Arkansas, you're playing a team who has the same talent level as Ohio State. You have NBA guys there. You have a team that likes to get up and down the court. They are a smaller team, but they're as talented as Ohio State. This is a team that won their last 11 games going into the SEC tournament, and then they lost to LSU, who has also been really hot. And there's a lot of hot SEC teams going into this tournament, and Arkansas is definitely one of them. Again, they're 11-1 in their last 12 because they lost their last one to a hot team. But Arkansas is really good for sure, and that will be a really good game. I hope it happens, Ohio State Arkansas, because it would just be fun to watch. But that's where things get interesting for me. Personally, I have picked Arkansas to advance. I don't know about you, Troy, but what are your thoughts here?
You got Arkansas out of the region?
I've got Arkansas beating Ohio State.
To go to the Elite Eight?
Correct.
No, I have Ohio State winning.
Fair enough. Yeah, it would be a really good game, for sure. So on the top half, do you have Ohio State playing Baylor, I'm assuming?
Nope.
Uh-oh. Ohio State, Wisconsin, Troy. Good for you.
You are such a joker. You are a joker. All my Badger fan listeners out there, do not pick Wisconsin. It is reverse psychology to get to the Badgers to the Final Four. Let's go over the first game. You got Baylor losing in the first round, youngster?
Almost. No, I don't have them losing in the first round, but I do have them losing in the second round. They play the winner of North.
Are you young? No. Why did you have to say that?
Well, why not?
Oh,
you asked
my
me.
Gosh. Oh, my gosh.
You asked me about Baylor. I thought
I was going to drop a bomb. I thought I was going to be this miraculous guy. You have North Carolina beating Baylor, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And so do I.
Ooh, look at you. All right, on the same train.
Oh, my gosh. We are 2 peas in a pod, 5 years doing the Go Big or Go Home show. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So you have Ohio State beating North Carolina, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Sure. North Carolina, we'll go over North Carolina more when we talk about Wisconsin, because that could be the only game Wisconsin plays. But
where do you want to go from here?
North Carolina is huge, which could be a problem for Ohio State. It could be a problem for Wisconsin. It could be a problem for everyone they play because they're that big. But, yeah. So, anyway, Ohio State could certainly make it out of the season. Go ahead.
Again, youngster, I've said this time after time after time. When Wisconsin had their good Final Four runs, they had Frank the Tank in the middle. They had the guy in the middle. They had a guy that could dominate the boards offensively and defensively. North Carolina, record-wise, but you talked about Baylor. Well, I'm not even bringing up Wisconsin. Who in the middle can do anything against North Carolina? North Carolina is going to out-rebound Wisconsin like 62-5. They're not going to be able to rebound against North Carolina.
Big. He's tall. Nate Rhodes is tall.
He likes to play on the three-point line, and he sucks out there. You got me worked up. You got me worked up about this Wisconsin team. I gave in. I said a couple weeks ago I'm not watching them. I didn't watch them until the Big Ten tournament. I watch them against Iowa, and it's like, oh, yeah. They gave Iowa a good run.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. They did. And they're a good team. They just don't have anybody in the middle. And I don't even want to say to dominate. They don't have anybody to neutralize. Just neutralize somebody on the other team. And then when they get behind, youngster, here's what they want to do. Let's heave up 53 pointers in a game. And they're an average three-point shooting team. Right. Could they get hot, shoot 50% against North Carolina and beat them and screw up my bracket? They could. They could. Because there's no way Wisconsin is beating Baylor. There's no way.
No.
That's
the one thing.
If it's Wisconsin against Baylor, yeah. If it is, that's like the NBA three-point shooting contest. Like your veterans are out there draining three-pointers, and then you got your little rookies out there hitting the bricks. Wisconsin is too inconsistent.
Yeah,
but I do have North Carolina because everybody else in this bracket, youngster, like you kept bringing it up. Guard play. North Carolina probably has the worst guard play in the region, but they got the big guys.
Right.
They got the big guys. There's no big guys. Who are the big guys in this region that are going to dominate a game? No one.
You'd have to go to Purdue, which we'll talk about last because we're talking about Wisconsin a lot here, so we'll skip Purdue and save them for last. But Wisconsin, I will say this. If they play Baylor, they would try to get into a three-point shootout with Baylor, and that's exactly what you don't want to do against Baylor. So wouldn't end well for the Badgers there.
Not when you're Wisconsin.
No. Baylor, again, they're
because they all
three-point shooting team. So
they all think everybody on the Wisconsin Badger roster, including Potter, thinks they can shoot three-pointers. Just go to the stat page. Go to the stat page and see what their percentages are. I believe it was against the Penn State team. Against the Penn State team, it was like 23% or 18%, something like that. Against Penn State in the regular season? Come on! Why are you heaving up 41 three-pointers? Wisconsin, one and done. And if they win, will I be happy as a Badger fan? No, because they're going to get killed against Baylor.
I'm surprised.
And no, because they ruined my bracket, because I have North Carolina in the Elite Eight against Ohio State.
I'm surprised. I looked up the averages, and Trice shoots 38% from three. Potter shoots 37.5%. Davison basically 37.5%. Jonathan Davis 38%. If you just looked at that and you said, okay, 4 guys shooting at least 37%, you definitely have to guard them. But it's like when this team
break it down by game. There's games where Davidson is 4 for 5, and then there's a game where he goes 0 for 8. Same thing with Potter. Early in the season, you got to go all the way back. And here's what I'm saying to everybody listening. You're like, oh, you're hating on Wisconsin. That's my team. This is my team. They got all these seniors. They should be really good. Early in the season, youngster, they got off to a great start. Potter. Whoo, look at Potter. Look at Potter. He can step out. He can shoot the three. He's a big guy that can shoot the three. Then you got a stretch of games in the middle of the season. 1 for 6, 1 for 7, 1 for 8. Stop shooting the three-pointer. You can't make it. Oh!
They were 10-2. They were 10-2 to start the year. They finished 17-12. They're 3-7 in their last 10, and the 3 wins they have in those last 10 games are over Nebraska, Northwestern, and Penn State. And before that, their best win, well, their only win before that was Penn State. Their best win since February is it would have to be neutral site Penn State. They won by 1 in the Big Ten tournament.
Woo! In the Big Ten tournament against Penn State. Woo! Woo!
So that's down the stretch they've played like garbage. So they have had some close losses, I will say, but they're not beating teams, and the only teams they beat are bad. So that's Wisconsin down the stretch here. The one thing I will say about Wisconsin, the last thing I'll bring up with Wisconsin against North Carolina. Wisconsin, again, like you said, they are very senior laden. North Carolina is young when it comes to guard play. They turn it over fairly often. If Wisconsin gets into a game where they only turn it over 8 times and they're able to hit threes at a decent clip, just shoot it at 37%, like your percentages say you should, and you turn North Carolina over and you force 10 more turnovers than you commit, then yeah, Wisconsin can win the game. There's a formula there to win, but Wisconsin's played like crap recently, and they should get dominated on the boards, and North Carolina should advance. That's the reality of it. But so the last team here from the South region from the Big Ten, number 4, Purdue. Purdue plays North Texas, 13 seed in the first round, and North Texas. It's actually interesting. I like Purdue, but the one thing I will say about Purdue is you have your bigs. You have Travion Williams, who's their most complete player, their best player right now, I suppose, because he is a few years older than Mr. Ivey. But for Purdue, they're big. Travion Williams he's only 6'8", 6'9", but he's probably their most complete player. But Zach Edey is 7'4". That's a problem for teams. So again, you mentioned in this region, Troy, who's got the bigs. North Carolina obviously does, but Purdue is right there. Edey at 7'4", Travion Williams 6'9". Those are 2 big dudes who can score for sure. So Purdue poses problems for a lot of teams in this region. But again, guard-wise, if your best guard is a freshman, and while he's a good one, and he's going to be an NBA player, in my opinion, Jaden Ivey is great. Eric Hunter, he's good, and Brandon Newman as a guard as well. He's a freshman. That's the thing about this Purdue team is they've got a lot of juniors, like Travion Williams, Stefanovic, Hunter, like I mentioned, but like Newman, Ivey, Edey, all 3 of those guys who are key contributors are all freshmen. This team, if they all stay intact, as long as Ivey doesn't go into the NBA draft, I haven't looked at mock drafts recently, but if they all stay together, like this Purdue team could be really, really good next year.
Well, let's not overlook the fact, youngster, that they were also the 4 seed in the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah. So they outperformed
this is not a slouch team. You and I talked about this. We thought Purdue was going to be like 7, 8, 9.
Right.
Yeah. And here they are.
And they were 4. Yeah.
They were 4 in the Big Ten tournament. They got a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. They're a good team.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Purdue, especially in this region again. So going back to North Texas quickly. North Texas they have a good defense statistically, again, according to KenPom.com, which is a site that I love this time of year. Checks out a bunch of different metrics. You can look up like tempo and turnover rate and obviously offensive, defensive efficiency, three-pointer. It does a lot of things. So North Texas is good on both sides of the ball. They have a 6'10" guy on the interior who at least can pose some sort of defense against Williams, against Edey. It's not as though North Texas is a small team who's just going to get absolutely obliterated by Purdue's bigs. They'll still get beat up by Purdue's bigs, but it's not going to be a joke. And again, North Texas is a small a school from a small conference who's a 13 seed. They're a 13 seed for a reason. They're pretty good. They're not a 15 or a 16. They're a 13 for a reason. So this is a good team, but Purdue should advance realistically. And then past that, Purdue, they got put together in the same pod as Villanova as their 5 seed, which is phenomenal because Villanova lost their last 2 games of the season. And while that doesn't necessarily mean much on the face of things, Villanova lost their senior point guard prior to this.
That's the big one right there, youngster. Villanova lost the leader.
Right.
They lost the floor general.
Yeah, this Villanova team, they're good, but again, they're 0-2 without their senior point guard going into the NCAA tournament. So, I mean, this is not a great team. They play Winthrop. That's, I mean, if you're talking about the most popular 12-5 upset that people are picking, it's this for the reason we just mentioned. Winthrop's, they've lost 1 game all year. They're a 12 seed, again, from a small conference for a reason. But here's the thing with Winthrop, whether Purdue plays Villanova or Winthrop, if they play Villanova, they should definitely win. If they play Winthrop, it'll be interesting. But Winthrop's top rebounder, like I mentioned with North Texas, it's not the same story because Winthrop's top rebounder is a guard who's 6'7". So you want to talk about a team that's going to get absolutely massacred by a 7'4" guy in Zach Edey and Travion Williams, who's a really good big. Winthrop will get killed on the interior. They have to make, 14 threes and win the game that way. Can they? Yeah. But Purdue should advance into the Sweet 16 in this region, which, again, for this younger team.
Who are you taking in that Winthrop-Villanova game, youngster?
I'm taking Winthrop. I'm going with, and this is, if you're a smart person who's in a bracket pool for money, you actually take Villanova here because basically everybody's taking Winthrop. So that's one of those games that doesn't cost you much if you lose it, but you're going with what is technically the better team overall. But it's just such a sexy 12-5 upset because people love picking 12 seeds over 5. And again, we just talked about why Villanova is what they are right now. So, this is a very, very, very popular 12-5 upset pick. So you should go
popular. The thing is, you can't lose on. I mean, you could lose 1 point. Oh, you might not get the perfect bracket and win the $1 million from CBS Sports.
Yeah, right.
I have Purdue winning the second round game, and that's the way I do my bracket. Is I look who's going to advance, who's going to the Sweet 16. This is my Sweet 16, and then I look at all of the teams that are not in the Sweet 16, I'm like, where can I find my upset? Where can I find it? But people are like, oh, yeah. No, I know Villanova's been crappy without their point guard. I think they do get by Winthrop, though. I know they only lost 1 game. But I like Purdue. I like the bigs. And we're going to get a North Carolina Purdue big matchup. Big guys playing, youngsters. Sweat all over. Sweat all over. Banging bodies. And then after that, it's guard play. But we do get 1 game with the big guys going at it.
We absolutely will see Purdue play North Carolina in the Sweet 16. There's no question. You can listen to all the experts and, talking about Baylor and going to the Final Four, and they're fantastic, and, they've been
some people think they're the best team in the country, youngster. Nobody should bet against them. Some people all the way to the championship. Yeah, well, they're going down to North Carolina.
You heard it here first. Here's
the thing, though, youngster, and I'm not being sarcastic about it, but think about it. You talked about it. Baylor's the best three-point shooting team in the country. Great.
Yeah.
That is great. So now you play against let's say it's North Carolina. You got the bigs. Let's say somehow you shoot 55%. You demolish North Carolina. Great. Now you got to go out and shoot again against Purdue, another team that's going to dominate offensively on the rebounds and not offensively, defensively on the rebounds. That is the problem I have with a three-point shooting team. To me, youngster, Baylor and Wisconsin are the same two teams. The thing is, Baylor's shooting at a lot higher clip than Wisconsin is. But when you shoot bad against a team that has bigs, you're done. You are done. And Baylor's got that test in round 2 against North Carolina. So they get by North Carolina. Now you got to go to a third game, and you better be shooting good again because now you got more bigs than Purdue. There's no way. Oh, go ahead.
And then if they beat Purdue, you're playing a really good smaller team in Ohio State or Arkansas, most likely. It's Baylor's. If Baylor gets to the Final Four, it's impressive because they will have to have overcome 2 really big teams, and then they have to play a really good small team that matches up perfectly with them. If Baylor gets to the Final Four, kudos. But I'm just picking against them, even though everybody loves them.
Everybody loves the Baylor Bears. The Baylor Bears, everybody loves them. I don't. I really don't. They're going to drop a game against one of these big teams. I've always said you got to have a big guy in the middle that can take over a game. And it doesn't have to be offensively. It does not have to be offensively, youngster. Again, Baylor, a three-point shooting team, right? So if you play against North Carolina and you're one and done, okay, they got guards that turn the ball over like you said. Okay, they're going to turn it over. Maybe they get by North Carolina. You and I have watched Purdue. We are a Big Ten show. Purdue can actually play and shoot the ball. You got a guy in the middle that's gonna limit Baylor to one and done and cut down 6 possessions in a game, and Purdue can score on 3 of those. And let's say you get 1 3-pointer, you get a free throw, you get 6 more points. Those 6 points in it would be Sweet 16 game are important. That's where I'm going with this. That's where I'm going. I like Baylor. I think they're a good team. They just got a bad draw with big guys. If they would have Arkansas, Ohio State on the top part, I might have them to the Final Four or into the Elite 8 because they can play with those teams. Right. They can play. They can shoot with them. And Baylor's a good shooting team. But they got bigs up top. That's what you're stealing my thunder. I thought I was going to be unique on this one, and nope, right with me there. There's a youngster knocking Baylor down like I did. Makes me feel like I'm nothing on this podcast.
During the selection show, I tweeted out, Baylor's done. Like North Carolina's got them. I tweeted it out right there. I'm with you. If Baylor's able to, match up small ball with everybody, then they're fantastic. But they're just going to be in 2 dogfights against North Carolina and Purdue if they get to Purdue. So that's kind of my issue here, Troy, is I like Arkansas a lot. I like Ohio State a lot, but they're lacking on the interior. And then I like Purdue. I don't love Purdue. I still haven't picked this. My Elite 8 right now is Arkansas, Purdue. And it's like these teams, Purdue's good. They're not fantastic. Do I have Purdue in my Final Four? Like, really? Honestly?
Oh, you might.
That's my issue here. This region could completely, realistically, folks, if you're going to win a bracket for challenge for money, which ours is not. Ours is free. It takes 30 seconds to click the link and import your bracket. At Youngster Old Man on Twitter. Shout out to Interpeak Coffee, interpeakcoffee.com. All your orders are delivered free to your doorstep. I just figured I'd get all those plugs in there, all in one. But so that's my thing here. Is it's like and Arkansas is flawed too in terms of the interior. I don't love who's coming out of this region. But so I was talking about winning money from a bracket, from your bracket, and realistically, if you don't pick the national champion right, you're not winning your pool. That's number one.
You have to get that right.
So don't worry about picking the correct Winthrop-Villanova game. It helps if you pick that 113 seed to get to the Sweet 16. You pick that 11 seed who goes on a run. That certainly helps you, but you really have to pick the winner. That's the number one thing. That's what really gets you loads of points. And then, again, if you can pick most of your Final Fours right, that's huge. But is it going to be Gonzaga and Baylor and Illinois, and if you pick the right Texas-Alabama team? It could be. It's just, if you want to differ a little bit, you kind of have to find some interesting pick that sets you apart, that can win you a bracket. And to me, it could very well come down to the South region for me, if I am correct in my national title winner. This South region could be an absolute disaster for me. Or I could look like a genius. And Troy, for the most part, I mean, we kind of match up in our thinking here. You just have Ohio State moving on.
Well, we could look like total morons if Baylor goes to the Final Four.
Right, exactly. Baylor could just shoot 50% against everybody and just crush everybody.
And they could. See, and that's the thing about March Madness. Youngsters, they could. I remember way back when I was a youngster like you, when Wisconsin went on that run and they were knocking out number one seeds and they were shooting unbelievable, like 60% from three-point land. And a team that shouldn't have been, they were like an 8 seed. And they were like, woo, look at us go, look at us go. Bam! But Baylor could do that because they're good. They're good at shooting the three. So what if they hit 60%?
If they shoot 40% from three, they'll win their games against everybody in this region. If you're shooting 40% from three, just shoot it really well like you have all year. They'll be fine. If they don't against North Carolina, if they don't against Purdue, they're screwed. That's how I see it. And again, if you shoot poorly against Arkansas or Ohio State, those teams match up perfectly with them as well. So it's, Villanova was a team that really shot the hell out of the three a few years ago, and they just killed everybody and won the national title. Like, you can do that. It's just Villanova was so elite at it, and Baylor is too. Again, they're the top three-point shooting team in the country, but Villanova was just on another level from everybody else in terms of shooting that year. It was just too much for everybody else to handle. But Villanova played really good defense. They had NBA players on the roster. Baylor does too. But Villanova they didn't have a 6'11", 7-footer on the inside to deter everybody. They just truly shot the hell out of the ball and killed everybody. But it doesn't happen often. Usually you have to have a Garza. Usually you have to have a Timmy like Gonzaga has. Usually you have to have a Coburn like Illinois has. Usually you have to have one. And Baylor just doesn't necessarily have that. So, again, I just think they're in danger. I think Purdue could make a nice little run to the Elite Eight, and who knows, I might have Purdue in my frickin' Final Four. I don't know yet, but I don't know what the reason.
Look at you, the scholarly youngster.
Yes, that is me, who's going to look like an idiot when Baylor just cruises through this region. That's why I love March Madness. I love it. So, anyway, we've got one region left. Go ahead, or did I lose you? Maybe you're going through a dry spot. I guess keep talking until I can hear you. Or maybe you lost me too. So yeah, we've got one region left. We just talked about the South for this show. This was the longest show we had during this, talking about the West, talking about the East and the South for the first three podcasts this week, and the last one will be about the Midwest, where Illinois is the 1 seed. And that will come to you again via thegrillingtruth.com. Check us out on Twitter @YoungsterOldMan. Follow Troy on LinkedIn, Facebook. There's a number of different ways you can check out the podcast. But again, all of our podcasts will be on thegruelingtruth.com. They should all be up by the time the tournament begins on Friday. So, Troy, I kind of hear
should be. That's the goal, right? That is the goal.
Yes, that's the goal. So, go to thegruelingtruth.com. That's where you can find Go Big or Go Home, all the stuff we do. So,
yeah,
there you go.
Like Youngster said, follow us on Twitter at YoungsterOldMan or individually at Kid Cunny, at Troy Robert, and join our pool. Anybody listening to this show has already filled out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 type brackets. Take one of them, put them in our contest. Let's see what goes. Again, it is for fun, it is for free, and it is for bragging rights. Youngster, you and I we've got a lot of similar things. We haven't disclosed our national champion yet, though.
Well, I know we're
kind of. Well, I know who your national champ is. I do. Right. I do. I haven't given you mine yet, though. We've disagreed. We've disagreed in the Texas-Alabama region. So I've got Alabama, you've got Texas. We disagree now in the South because I have Ohio State going, and you're not going to have Ohio State there. So, we are going to disagree. But you brought up a really good point about 10 minutes ago. You need to pick the national champion right. You pick the national champ right, and you usually score a lot of points. I'm not telling you if you and I are correct on that one or not. Maybe we are, maybe we're not. Find out on Thursday morning. The last region will be posted, I hope, Thursday night or Friday morning on thegruelingtruth.com. Youngster, anything else before we let these wonderful people go?
No, nothing else. Again, gruelingtruth.com. Check out interpeakcoffee.com. Free shipping on all orders. And follow us on Twitter at YoungsterOldMan.
All right, for the scholarly, I'm the old man. We'll get back at you soon. Be great. Stay smiling. We'll talk to you